Congratulations, you just put a deposit down on your first ever electric car and you can't wait to get that tax credit. But you better pump the brakes because the government has other plans for you. Things are getting really messy with this EV tax credit, and we're going to break down who qualifies, what vehicles will qualify, which vehicles the rest of the year are pretty much SOL. We're over at Automotive News. EV tax credit restrictions could reshape automakers' supply chains and battery strategies. It just completely throws a wrench in the entire supply chain, which is already totally screwed up thanks to the COVID lockdowns in China and other things going on, right? Now, the good old Inflation Reduction Act, which won't reduce inflation, there's going to be a 15% corporate tax on top of what we're going to talk about today. This corporate tax will affect all the EV manufacturers and just normal car manufacturers as well. So the prices of all the cars are going to have to go up to compensate for this corporate tax, and also all the goods that we have. These big companies that provide all the goods to us at Target, Costco, etc. Everything you buy is going to go up in price thanks to this 15% tax built into this Inflation Reduction Act, which is, it's just a facade, guys, just a facade. All right, so how does the new EV tax credit rules work? It's pretty simple, well, fairly simple to understand last time. Now it is a complete show. So there are two different qualifications. If you meet one of them, congrats, you get $37.50 or whatever. Yeah, I was right, $37.50. So you get half of the EV tax credit if you meet the critical mineral sourcing. And then you also get the other half of the tax credit if you meet the battery component manufacturing whereabouts. Okay, so let's kind of break that down a little bit further. Half the EV tax credit is dependent on where the critical minerals are mined. Before 2024 and after, the US Treasury Secretary issues the proposed guidance that 40% must be extracted or processed in the United States or in a country where the US has a free trade agreement in effect, or from minerals that were recycled here in North America. All right, so you see in 2024, it's requiring 50, previously it was 0%. This wasn't even affected, right? Now, starting in 2024, 50% of the minerals of the battery have to come from North America or the free trade countries. So what are these free trade countries? Well, here we go. There aren't that many. Actually, I think I want to say there's around 20 or so. Of course, you have Canada and Mexico. You have all the Central American countries, as well as the Dominican Republic. You also have Colombia, Peru, and Chile. Now, Chile also has some good minerals that we'll find out here in a little bit that are going to be needed in batteries. But Argentina provides a ton of lithium, and we're not going to have that as a part of the EV tax credit, essentially. Toyota has a massive battery mine or lithium mine in Argentina. So, well, that's pretty much out the window at this point for getting the EV tax credit on a Toyota, or at least partial. We'll talk more about it as we go in the video. Also, Australia is massive for mining these rare earth minerals, as well as lithium, other things that are required in battery electric vehicles. South Korea, they don't have much for minerals, but they do have a lot of technology and cars built there that we consume here in the United States. Singapore, yeah, no natural resources there. Oman has oil, I guess. I don't know what else Oman and all these other countries, and just yeah, Israel doesn't have a lot of natural resources either. Morocco, maybe. Now, Automotive News has also given us an idea where all these minerals are coming from, or at least in high quantities. So if we look at who has the most metal, so it looks like Argentina, which I said is not a free trade country, which is necessary for half of the battery tax credit, they have like over half of the lithium, okay? And that's not going to work for the tax credit here stateside. Chile does, though. So luckily, Chile works. Hopefully, the manufacturers here in North America, including all the Asian ones that have manufacturing capacity here in North America, and set up shop in Chile and start mining some serious lithium down there. What about manganese? Not really any of the countries we work with. So let's keep moving there. Cobalt. Luckily, Australia is there for cobalt, but that is a messy mineral. And it's, yeah, let's keep moving. Graphite also needed in batteries. Canada has a good amount. Mexico has a good amount. So we'll be safe there with graphite and nickel. Luckily, thank God, our neighbors, the north of the wall, north of the wall, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, that's what I call Canada. The wildlings are up there. Anyways, 42% of the world's nickel comes from Canada. So we're safe there for a lot of these elements, but it's really shaking up the necessity of where we get these metals. Okay, so we talked about the minerals. Now we talk about battery components. So before 2024 and after, the US Treasury Secretary issues the proposed guidance that 50% must be made or assembled in North America for the battery component. But by the end of this decade, 100% of the battery components have to be made or assembled in North America, Canada, Mexico, United States, in order for you to get the second half of this EV tax credit. Also, final assembly must occur in North America for EVs sold after the bill is enacted. And that bill will be enacted. Well, we're going to actually go to another article here because this bill is going to be enacted very, very soon once President Joe Biden signs a climate, health, and tax measure, aka the Inflation Reduction Act. And we're going to see Audi, Porsche, Kia, EV buyers in the United States are going to lose out under this tax credit because they are not assembled in North America. Of course, there's criticism from the European Union, South Korean automakers, Japanese automakers as well. The crazy thing is if the customers have binding sales contracts on their order for EVs remaining the rest of the year, they still get the full tax credit. But if they just have like a deposit down and they haven't signed a purchase agreement, then they won't be eligible for a tax credit on their European or Korean or even the Japanese EVs like the BZ4X, if you can even buy one by the end of the year. 70% of the 72 US full electric, plug-in hybrid, and fuel cell EVs that currently qualify for the EV tax credit will be ineligible upon Biden signing the law into law. Holy cow. So what's the point of the EV tax credit if immediately 70% are no longer eligible because they aren't made here in the United States? Then on January 1st, it gets a lot uglier here when more of these requirements become law. Going back to the first article, once the act is signed into law by the president, it could take at least 4 years for vehicles to be eligible for the full credit. This is from Mark Wakefield, global co-leader of the automotive and industrial practice at consulting firm Alex Partners. And then he goes on to say that's not going to be a flood because that would just be the first vehicle that would have been designed, developed, and launched that's target optimized to come under the price limit, to be a lower cost vehicle, and to have the battery supply chain and other supply chains addressed. So what are the additional stipulations here? Well, no more than... Oh, the dog needs to be back in. Okay, so in order for you to get the new tax credit, you can't spend more than $55,000 for a sedan. Again, what constitutes a sedan and a crossover nowadays? I just reviewed the EV6 and the Ioniq 5. What are those, right? Anyways, and $80,000, great, for SUVs and trucks. Now, there's also a maximum $4,000 for used electric vehicles, but I'm not even going to go down that route today. Also, you can't be too wealthy when buying an electric vehicle because then you won't get the EV tax credit either. So if you are an individual and you make an average or adjusted gross income above $150,000, you don't get the EV tax credit when you buy an EV. If you're married couples filing jointly, so that would be in my case, the income limit would be $300,000. Okay, so maybe get married if you make over $150,000 and you need that EV tax credit. And for individuals who file head of household. So if you're head of household, you have dependents under you, $225K is the limit. With this price limit of $55,000, let's look at the Ioniq 6 coming out. We know that's a sedan, right? I mean, it's already built in Korea, so it's immediately ineligible for tax credit. But let's say they eventually assemble it here, and it meets all the criteria. But let's say there's one trim level that is over $55,000 and there's another trim level that's under $55,000. Like, that completely messes up the pricing strategy and pricing schemes and just adding options. If you add a paint color, let's say your EV is built in America, etc., and you add a paint color and it was $54,900, you add that paint color, and now what? right? Now you're over the 55. So you go from full EV tax credit to no EV tax credit. So this is just a complete mess. So Colin Langan from Wells Fargo, he's an auto analyst. He thinks sourcing is going to be a main concern for the industry. It's almost unworkable considering how much is already out of China and how hard it is going to be to rearrange those supply chains and how little is actually available in the US and with free trade partners. Well, I'm actually, there's some things about this that I think is good. I want to distance ourselves away from the political mess that is China. I want us to be more independent with our businesses and our supplies and our chips, etc. And that it will take time. But unfortunately, as the government wants more EVs out on the road, and in this crucial period where EVs need to be adopted in their minds more quickly, it's just going to be a complete mess with this EV tax credit for the first 5 years, maybe even more, before vehicles can become fully eligible. Most battery chemistries today are nickel-based. Only 11% of nickel and 6% of cobalt are available from US and free trade partners. And since the minerals are so hard to get within those countries, they're saying that we might be seeing a lot more lithium iron phosphate batteries, which don't have as much range. They're safer though, but again, not as much range. So you're compromising here to get the LFP batteries to qualify for the tax credit. It's just more mess. And we're also expecting that the mines for all these new materials could take up to 10 years to build and start refining these minerals for the batteries. So essentially the new EV tax credit is a complete mess. Who knows which vehicles are going to qualify and when, especially when you move the goalpost every single year. Okay, it's a nightmare. And I can't even, with like my EV spreadsheet here, I can't even like put in tax credit anymore, because who the heck knows which vehicles are going to be somewhat eligible, half eligible, full eligible, not eligible at all. It's a complete nightmare at this point. And there can be some adjustments made to this bill, I think, before the end of the year. And I hope there are, because the way it is right now, it's a shit show. I'm going to end it there. If you made it this far in the video, God bless you. I've ran out of patience reading the nightmare that is the new EV tax credit. Maybe you like it. If you like this new EV tax credit, explain why. I think the idea of bringing more manufacturing and mining here to North America and the countries that support us, that makes sense to me, but it is not helping the consumer, and it's not going to help EVs get out on the road anytime faster. Cut myself off. Take care of yourselves. Hit the like button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you're not. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.